Hello everyone, I hope y'all are doing well and having a great Monday so far. In tonight's forecast update, we're going to be talking about our low end severe weather risk for tomorrow on Tuesday as well as Wednesday. And then we'll be talking about our severe weather threat for this weekend. My thoughts and prayers go out to all those affected by the severe weather outbreak over late last week and into this weekend. I really hope for a speedy recovery for all those affected. And I know it is a devastating thing, especially with some of the tornadoes that hit those areas. But we will go ahead and get started with the update tonight. So first off here, we have a marginal risk for day 2 on Tuesday, tomorrow across portions of Nebraska, Iowa, a small section of Minnesota and Wisconsin, and kind of an extreme southeastern South Dakota as well, just for that level 1 out of 5 marginal risk for tomorrow. And so we do not have a tornado or wind risk with this. We do have a 5% hail risk for this tomorrow, this marginal risk up here into portions of the Midwest. And then looking at our day 3 outlook here, we already have a level 2 out of 5 slight risk for Illinois, Indiana for Wednesday. And we also have a level 1 out of 5 marginal risk around that, starting into southern Minnesota and Wisconsin, all the way down to the states in between to the south into Mississippi and Alabama for Wednesday, March the 19th. Starting off here with our 500 millibar our winds at the 500 millibar level around the mid levels of the atmosphere here, and we'll be looking at the 21Z wrap model here to start off for our upcoming severe weather threat. So if we go to tomorrow on Tuesday about midday, you can see our trough right here starting to slowly make its way up and kind of lift to the north here, and that'll be responsible for our severe weather threat. And so really the severe weather risk for Tuesday is basically for late Tuesday night into early on Wednesday for the most part, because storms will not be able to really get going until later in the day on Tuesday across portions of the Midwest. So if we continue this on here, our trough continues up and starts to amplify further, and by this point we're late tomorrow night into early on Wednesday during the nighttime hours, and as you can see, our trough starts to amplify just a little bit there with your wind speeds in the mid levels of the atmosphere starting to increase just a little bit. And then we'll have our system strengthen and get going a little bit further here, and you kind of have almost a negative tilt with this. But the good thing for sure with this system that limits it from being a little bit more stronger than it, not stronger, but a little bit more robust of a severe weather threat is because we are lacking moisture significantly into some of these areas where that severe weather risk is has been issued for Tuesday and on Wednesday. So that'll be the main thing that helps limit this event from being a little bit worse. So that is a good thing for sure. But as you can see, let me zoom in a little bit here. Here is our trough right here, or really our low pressure. Here is our trough, and you can see again you got somewhat of a negative tilt to that, so that is a sign of a strengthening low pressure, a strengthening storm system by this point on Wednesday. And so again, Wednesday will be just a little bit more a little bit greater of a severe weather risk across these areas because of that trough, that system strengthening a little bit more, and that moves on up there. And as you can see, our 500 millibar winds are mid levels of the atmosphere, especially across portions of Illinois and Indiana. You have a good 100 to 105 mid-level jet across these areas, not low-level jet, mid-level jet. And if we look at the low levels, of the atmosphere here, we go to late Tuesday night, you already have that low-level jet starting to increase across these areas, and you have a 80 knot low-level jet into these areas, into Missouri, and then into southern Iowa. You have a 60 to 65 knot low level jet into Illinois, around the upper 50 to lower 60 knot range for late Tuesday into Wednesday. Then as you go further into the day and finally get into, we'll go to midday Wednesday, you have a lower 50 to even mid to upper 50 knot low level jet screaming across Illinois, Indiana, even Kentucky, southeastern Missouri. And if you look at surface-based Cape here, you don't really have any instability here, but you do have some up into Illinois by this point. And that low-level jet is kind of going on. The strongest part of that low-level jet is east of the instability, but you still have a couple hundred joules per kilogram of surface-based Cape, and that is just enough for storms to start to get going. And we'll get closer to this area a little bit here, and I apologize for kind of going back and forth here, but if we go to late Tuesday into Wednesday, so we have Wednesday morning. By this point, you have dew points just barely into the lower 50s into Missouri, barely hitting 50 into Illinois, and this would help to limit that severe weather potential quite a bit, but still dew points into the lower to mid 50s will get the job done for severe weather. And so if we look at 18Z around midday on Wednesday across these areas, you do have that 50 knot low level jet across those areas. And if we look at surface-based Cape, you do have a little bit way back here with that kind of setup, and you're going to have a kind of a decent little cutoff here between the moist sector and that dry area. It's not going to be a dry line, but it's going to be a little bit of a difference there between the dew point difference there, and that'll probably be where storms will be, especially with the forcing in place with this strong low pressure, the strong system here moving up. But storms will definitely be able to develop along this area in that moist sector. And if we look at our supercell composite perimeter here, it looks like it spikes a little bit up here into Wisconsin, Illinois by Wednesday afternoon into the evening hours, and then even more into Wednesday evening into Wednesday night across Indiana and even into Michigan there. So that is just something to consider. And if we go back to kind of our Tuesday severe weather threat, again, it's going to start well into the night, well into the nighttime hours, and you can see it there starting to develop very early on Wednesday across Iowa and Missouri with our supercell composite perimeter, and that allows us to see where the greatest conditions are that severe storms could develop. But that'll be really about all we'll look at for now for our Tuesday and Wednesday severe weather threat. And now looking at our severe weather risk for this upcoming weekend. And so the Storm Prediction Center has issued a level 2 out of 5 slight risk for severe weather for Sunday, March 23rd across portions of southeastern Oklahoma, much of Arkansas, southwestern Tennessee, central and northern Mississippi, northern Louisiana, and kind of northeastern Texas as well for Sunday, once again, March 23rd, this upcoming Sunday, that is. And we'll have to continue to monitor this as well, and we'll look at some of the conditions that'll be in place with this upcoming system that could deliver a severe weather threat for Sunday into these areas. So first, looking at the European weather model, and as you can see right here, Wednesday you have your low pressure moving up with those severe storms into the Midwest on Wednesday, and you have a decent chance for some moderate to heavy snow north of that low pressure, especially into Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Nebraska, even into Kansas on Wednesday, and even into late Tuesday night. You could have a little bit of a chance for maybe light to moderate snow across South Dakota, even into maybe Wyoming and Montana, and then that will continue on up into portions of the Great Lakes, kind of into late Wednesday and Thursday. And then again, with our severe weather, that would move on out with that system really by Thursday, and you might have another maybe small severe weather threat for Thursday, but it looks to be pretty low at this time. But we continue that on and move that out here. We looked to this upcoming weekend. by Saturday, you do have some moisture here into the southeastern U.S. And then by Sunday, our main day here, you can see our low pressure start to develop across Texas by midday Sunday. And we're going to go ahead and go to the 12Z European, because the 18Z just doesn't quite go far enough where we can see the system. But if we continue on this here, you have that low pressure situated around here into Texas, and then there's our moisture associated with that system, and our storms begin to develop Sunday afternoon and evening across portions of the south central U.S., and that would move on to the east, and then we get into Monday morning, and we could have some of those storms move to the east, but I don't think we'll have anything too significant on Monday as this system moves to the east, just because of the lack of moisture and really forcing with this system. And then if we look at the GFS here as well with this system, we'll go to the 18Z. And so the GFS wants to have it's kind of got a pretty different solution here. So it's got a low pressure way up here, and you've got, again, those storms well down here to the south, and it's definitely an outlier compared to, not outlier, but it's definitely different compared to the European weather model, because it gets that low pressure way up to the north and doesn't have as much of a suppressed look to it as the European does. And we'll just quickly look at the European AI model as well for this upcoming system. And so same thing here. It shows a much stronger system to the north and doesn't have really any moisture, or has much of the moisture up here into the central and eastern U.S. By Monday, but the European doesn't quite really show that as well. If we go back here to the 12Z run, yeah, it has that low pressure not really getting going, or not really strengthening, that is, until it's well up into the Ohio Valley. So that's just something to watch, the differences between the three models. But the European AI model and the GFS agree a little bit more than the European, and European AI model agree. So that's something to consider with this system. And usually the European AI model and European weather model agree most of the time, not always, but quite a bit of the time. They will have very similar looks to them. So that is just something to continue to watch. And again, we can't really break this down too much because it is just a little bit far away where we will have these differences between some of the models. But just really to end it off here and close things out, we'll look at some of the ensembles to get a little bit of a better idea of what could potentially happen. So finally looking at the EPS ensembles for this weekend. And so you can already see some of that moisture sitting into the Gulf, trying to push up to the north a little bit there. That's not a good arrow. But you can see that moisture sitting there and ready to push up with that system. So again, we get into Sunday morning, that moisture already gets into Texas and Louisiana. Midday Sunday, already up into, again, Texas and Louisiana. Dew points into the lower to mid 60s. Gets that even further and peaks at around Sunday evening into Sunday night, with the kind of mid 60s to lower 60s dew points there, plenty sufficient for those storms. And it really doesn't get much moisture past that, other than dew points into the 50s into the kind of mid south there. So that is the latest not latest, excuse me, but the latest 12Z European that goes out far enough to where we can see it. And then if we look at the GEFS ensembles here real quick, just to see the difference, if there is any major difference. So if we go to Saturday, Sunday, same time frame, again, pretty similar look here. Sunday morning, midday Sunday has a little bit more of a push of that moist sector to the north into even Arkansas and Mississippi. Dew points into, once again, the lower to mid 60s there for Sunday night. And again, kind of the same look, but I think with a solution more like the GFS and European AI model, it would um, kind of grab that moisture a little bit more effectively if you were to have, again, a solution more like the GFS and European AI model, where that system is already strengthened quite a bit before it lifts up further to the north, so it's able to pull that moisture in, rather than the European model showing a weaker system where it's not able to pull that moisture further up to the north, if that makes sense there. But really, that'll be about all we talk about for our severe weather threat for this weekend. But we'll continue to watch this over the next several days. So that'll be it for tonight's update. I appreciate all of y'all watching, and I hope y'all have a great rest of y'all's week. And I will probably have another video up maybe in the next couple of days. But if not, I'll have one out for sure, probably by late this week. And we'll try to break down our upcoming weekend severe weather risk a little bit more. And if I am able to get one video uploaded before our Wednesday severe weather threat, really by tomorrow, I would probably have to get one out. We'll try to break that down a little bit more again, once again, if I'm able to upload one tomorrow. But again, I appreciate all of y'all watching, and I hope y'all have a great week.